Today on the show, we are hitting the road and catching up with the SUMA team on their summer roadshow. Welcome to the season 10 finale of MuniCast.
I grew up in a small town. I'm a small town at heart. I moved to the city, but deep down I've not gone that far. No matter where my boots take me, I grew up in a small town and I still got one foot on Main Street.
MuniCast is brought to you by SUMA, the voice of Saskatchewan's urban municipalities. MuniCast discusses topics that are important to municipal leaders, like local governance, best practices, education, and so much more. This season, our conversations dove into how municipalities could get the most value from SUMA's offerings, from building meaningful connections through networking to strengthening capacity through education, advancing local priorities through advocacy, and gaining direct access to government officials. Today, for the Season 10 finale, we are sitting down with SUMA President Randy Goulden and SUMA CEO Marc Nadeau. We will take a look back at the SUMA's 2026 Regional Roadshow as it nears its final stop. We'll discuss why visiting all 8 regions is so important, the value of connecting with members in their own backyards, and the common challenges and unique priorities that emerged across Saskatchewan. We will also explore key takeaways from the educational programming and hear about the municipal tours that have showcased innovative projects and local leadership along the way. And we will chat about what comes next with the summer months ahead of us.
From the smallest villages to the largest cities, every day your urban municipality supports you. The water that travels from tap to sewer, the emergency services that keep you safe, the parks, libraries, and rinks that you enjoy, our cities, towns, villages, resort villages, and northern municipalities are urban hubs bringing people together. We are urban. Celebrate your municipality as part of the urban family.
President, CEO, thank you so much for chatting with me for the season 10 finale of MuniCast. I want to start because we are here in beautiful Prince Albert on 6 of the 8 roadshow tours that you're doing across Saskatchewan. President Goulden, what have you been hearing from across Saskatchewan when you're meeting with mayors and councillors in that more regionalized approach?
Well, it's been a wonderful experience again this year. I've been very blessed to have the position of president and going into our urban municipalities and meeting face to face with our mayors, our councillors, our administrators, our CAOs, and hearing from them directly. You really can't beat that, and we're very fortunate that our members are very open. They're very frank. They will tell us if we need to improve. They will tell us what we're doing well. So that was a really good thing to hear. The other thing was the attendance of our MLAs, both from the government side and the opposition, was great to see. The MLAs there and ministers, we had ministers there with us. And then yesterday in Isla Crosse, very fortunate, we had our MP there, who is also Secretary of State. So we had Buckley Belanger with us, who had some great messages for our members and for SUMA about working together, staying strong, having our, working very hard and keeping compliant and doing what we do best.
JM, for yourself, from the back end of SUMA's perspective, why is it important for SUMA to undertake a roadshow like this?
I think the first and foremost is to be able to share with the members in their backyard, right? We meet them, as I've said before, at convention or other larger events, and there's just so many people around. When we're able to come into their areas, into their backyards, first of all, we now have a sense. If you take the roadshow up to Isle La Crosse yesterday, driving 155, we now understand when we hear from councillors from that area that the highway, it needs work. Well, we've experienced it. And so it's important for us to be able to see from our own eyes and to have conversations about their local realities right in their backyard.
Now,
one of the things that we also, when we were going up Highway 155, is all the small communities that go off 155 and the efforts they put to coming and meeting with us. But we also saw the importance of, first of all, the highways, but also we were watching for some of the airstrips, the small airports, because, and we heard it again today here in Prince Albert, how important if something or someone has to be evacuated, what that means to them and how important those connectors are. So sometimes if we're in larger, more connected communities, we don't have that as an important as it really is when we are out in the backyards of all our members.
When you're speaking with mayors in that setting, because I had the pleasure to sit down and listen to some of the mayors talk earlier this morning, are you hearing the same challenges and concerns across Saskatchewan, or are they different depending on where you go, whether that be your first stop in Assiniboia or Yorkton, or here in Prince Albert, Isle La Crosse, and I know you're going to be going to Rosthern and then also down to Moose Jaw to end off this road show. But are you hearing different things, or is the macro version of what you're hearing the same? We'll start with Randy again.
Well, it's really interesting because we go right back to the caucus priorities that we heard that ended up all having the same themes around infrastructure, public safety, and health. And they may have little nuances, but they're all the same. And it's recruiting healthcare professionals. And we heard yesterday, it's not just doctors and nurses. It is the administrative people. Yeah. It is the environmental people, because if they're not there, then the nurses have to take that up and do that work. And that takes away from their primary care that they can give. So it's really interesting hearing that type of, examples, close examples to the communities. But it's great because now we know some of the ways that we can help advocate to our ministers and to government and opposition when we meet with them.
So that brings me to a follow-up question, but for JM, because the information you gather from this roadshow, you take as CAO and you work with your team behind the scenes to ensure that what you've heard is delivered. What's the steps that you have to take as CAO to ensure that what you've heard isn't just going to be left on the cutting room floor?
So we've got staff back home that are listening to the roadshow. We're always in a virtual environment as much as we are in person, and they're taking notes down and they'll bring it back to their respective portfolios to ensure that the advocacy that we're preparing includes some of those stories that we hear on the ground here or in the different regions, because we have research capabilities, but to be able to bring the local reality to an advocacy, whether at the federal or provincial level, speaks loudly to what the realities are on the ground.
One of the big things I've heard over the last few hours since being here in Prince Albert is collaboration. Now, you and I, Randy, have talked about collaboration a few, I think 100 times over the time that we've known each other. How reassuring is it that more and more mayors and councillors are taking that SUMA approach around collaboration to heart and saying, we need to work together, whether it be with our fellow urban municipalities or even our RMs?
It is absolutely essential because we cannot do this, apart. We need to do these things together. And it's what our other orders of government are asking us to do too. But more importantly, that's just what makes our communities work better, getting everybody together. And we heard that here in Prince Albert, how there's collaboration around Lake Country. And they're collaborating on recreation, economic development, fire departments, all of those kind of things. And one of the things that I'm very proud of with SUMA is that we have capacity in our administration, JM and his team, to take that and build it into case studies that we can then use as best practices. So it really then will demonstrate to our other orders of government just how well we are working together.
For yourself, JM, because collaboration seems to be a big push right now for both the provincial government, federal government, is it easier for your role as CEO and your team's role when you approach the government in that advocacy role to say we are working together with our fellow urban municipalities and our fellow rural municipalities as well?
Absolutely. When we develop an advocacy strategy, we always take into account what the province and the feds are looking for. What are their priorities, and how can we not spin, but how can we make sure that what we're looking for fits their mandates or what they're looking for? Because it's a lot easier to sell to the upper levels of government when what we're looking for fits what their mandates are, what their platforms are. So absolutely, it's very important to have that. And I think, again, these roadshows are so important to hear from the members themselves. And we've heard it again this morning. Randy talked about case studies that we wrote, that we published through Johnson Chariama. Be able to explain to government that our municipalities are working together. I'm not going to blanket all municipalities. They're not quite there yet, but there's some really cool examples of best practices out there that we're going to bring to the forefront and talk about.
And I think also, and just to let everyone know that as a provincial organization, we're working with our sister organization. This has been a focus of ours for the past year, to work with our sister organization, SARM, because we have to be role models. So there are going to be different events and occasions now that I will be sitting with the president of SARM, President Huber, and talking about cooperation, collaboration. How can we work together? So we are going to be seeing that over in the next months to come, that we are looking as associations of working together and demonstrating how this can be done at a provincial level through our associations, and then how it can hopefully be done when we talk about our municipalities.
JM, because this roadshow is about listening to your members, but there's also an educational aspect to this roadshow. We're literally talking as one of those sessions is going on. What do you look for when you try to educate your members about what's going on in the sector and what's going on in the municipal world? Because I can imagine you're not getting the same educational session in every single roadshow attendance. So what do you look for from a SUMA perspective when you're trying to educate your members?
We do. We survey the members often, whether at convention or otherwise, and we keep that data to inform when we set up agendas for roadshows, for example, or the summer school and as another example. And so we listen to the membership. What is it? What are the trends? What are the things that they're looking for? And also what we're hearing from government relations in particular when it comes to governance or financial responsibilities and so on. So, my teammates are very plugged into the different streams of information that's out there. And that's how we put together those agendas and those education sessions.
When you talk to members after the roadshow concludes, do you get a sense that they're happy that they came because they're able to be a little bit more intimate in their opinions and be a little bit intimate about learning those from those educational people who are up on the stage?
It's really interesting too, because in the opening remarks I talk about we want to hear from you. Because if you're thinking it, so are other members too. So we want to hear from you. And I'm going to go back to an education session we had in East Central. So the Yorkton, Priestville, all the area into the valley, into the Manitoba border. We had a session on the Saskatchewan Association of Watersheds, because we know in that area there's a great deal of flooding. So we want to be relevant too. And afterwards, I had members come up to us and say, thank you for bringing them in, because now we know who we can talk with, because we have flooding and we feel that there's issues around that. So that was really good. The other one that we had that brought people talking about it later was the Sask Recycles, with the new program that's going on, to being able to hear Sask Recycles talk about what they're doing, but for them to listen to some of the concerns that are happening in our municipalities. So, there's always things to learn. And we try our very best to provide that education for those members in that area.
You also have delegates here, and I shouldn't say delegates, but partners here from SUMA Invest, Kinetic. Sorry, there you go. I knew I was going to get that wrong. Yeah. You have SUMA Invest, then SUMA Assure as well. How important is it to have those partners along for this roadshow? Because this is an opportunity for members to speak one-on-one with them and maybe learn a little bit more that they didn't get a chance to at the trade show at a large convention in Regina or Saskatoon.
Well, you just answered your own question.
I like to do that on the show.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly the purpose of having them come and join us on the roadshow. I mean, we're asking them to be on the road with us for 8 days and taking some time away from their families. But it's so important for our members to hear the different services that we offer, whether it's Kinetic or SUMA Assure, SUMA Invest, and to be able to listen from the administrators, but also be able to ask questions, right? And for the administrators, like Tanya Wendling from SUMA Assure, she can hear from our members as to why is it that we're not using SUMA Assure for the insurance programs in their community, or right? So there's always a back and forth. It's a two-way street, right? Communication is, so it's always important to have that.
And it's interesting too, because one of our partners, our newest partners, SUMA Invest, and it's an opportunity for members. It's optional. If this is where they want to invest their reserves, they can do that. But that is now growing into how they can get help fundraising. And using the fundraising to do some investments or not if they choose not to. So that is always, we heard today, especially about some different communities where their volunteers are doing so much and they're fundraising, and this just helps them. This is a way for them to get charitable receipts because municipalities can't do that. So it's another option for municipalities, and they can talk with each other too about one municipality that's using it and what it's meant for them or not. So it's definitely optional of all of our programs, but it's really interesting to watch how many of our members are finding it beneficial.
You talked, Randy, at the beginning of the interview, the roundtable, about MLAs and MPs being at these events. And I can imagine this is wonderful news for yourself and yourself as CEO and president to have all levels of government meeting with your members. What's been your message to those representatives? And what have you heard from your members who have said it's great that the MLA was here or the MP was here?
So, Chris, it's always good to have that representation here, because as president, or if you're on the board, or if you're from a larger community, you may have access to those MLAs, those ministers, but sometimes if you're for distances away or a smaller, that's not an opportunity you have. So to come to a SUMA event and have that where they can go one-on-one, it's no different when they can go to dialogue with the ministers at the SUMA convention. That is what I call a big deal. I remember the first time I was able to speak with the health minister. It was a big deal. And it's also an opportunity for those MLAs, those ministers, because when we meet with them, we say we're bringing SUMA's voice, our members' voice. And now they actually hear those members. They hear those voice, but they hear the passion. They hear the passion and the commitment that our members have to the communities and to the residents. And I think that is a very powerful way to get a message across.
Does it make your job a little bit easier, JM, when the people you're advocating to have already been in the room listening to your members?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that, because then they hear the passion that our members have, right? Yeah. SUMA's mandate is kind of threefold, right? It's advocacy first and foremost. There's networking as a second, and education. And these events like this provide for a fulfillment of that requirement of a mandate of ensuring that we give our members the opportunity to speak with decision makers. The fact that we had a cabinet minister, provincial cabinet minister in Yorkton, and now a cabinet minister from the federal level at our meetings, that speaks volume to the credibility SUMA has in the sector, when those ministers want to show up at our event and talk to our members.
one last area I want to touch on before we move on, and that is the excursions that are part of this amazing road show, where members actually get to go and visit. Because if I've learned one thing about talking to municipal leaders, is they're willing to steal from the best and willing to steal the ideas from the best. How important is it to have those excursions during this road show for members to go actually look and tangibly ask questions about the things that are going on in communities? Randy?
So it was wonderful going to the new facility here in Prince Albert. And even though probably most of the communities on the tour could never afford something quite like that, but they're learning about perhaps when they're looking at a new ice resurfacer, some of the options that they can look at. If they're looking for new lockers to put into any of their facilities, some of the new ways you could look at it. I think it was so interesting to go on a tour of the fish plant yesterday. It was amazing because it showed how a community can be a part owner in an enterprise business that provides jobs, economic development to their community, but it provides more than that. It provides hope. And it's raising money for their community. It employs the people that live there. And just to go on the tour and see that, it's fish that I enjoy because I can buy it across the province at our co-op, fed co-ops. But it just shows how if a community is finding there's a lack of that, they can take a lead role in doing that and get partners. So that was phenomenal to do that tour. I found it so wonderful to see what our municipalities can be innovative. They can be leaders. Exactly. It is amazing to see those things.
Inspiring, I guess, is what I would say with the fish plant in all across. The fact that they've grown and now they've just expanded and they're hitting, not to steal their thunder, but they're hitting potentially an Eastern market. To say that it comes from a small community in northern Saskatchewan is pretty inspiring.
And to watch on their labeling how they tell that story. They've used the labeling to tell that story. And we also saw in a northern community, because I noticed as we were driving around it, that there were a lot of hanging flower pots. So I thought, wow, the northern store is bringing a lot of those in. Not so. That is something that they do at the high school with their students. They have a greenhouse and they're using that as a teaching tool, but they're using it to beautify their community. So I know that I'm taking that back to our schools in Yorkton. It doesn't have to be just a high school, so that they can do that and use it as a teaching tool, but beautify our community.
Season 10 of MuniCast is about educating and getting members to understand how they can get the most out of SUMA. Mm-hmm. Now we are about to hit the summer months, and that traditionally is when councils don't meet as often. They usually have a lot of pancake flipping, a lot of pulled pork that they make, a lot of circuits that they have to do as municipal councils. But SUMA's work continues on. For JM, what work do you do now that this is kind of the busy season for you guys, but the work still continues? What do you do in the summer months now?
So
besides your golf tournament and the amazing...
That's exactly where we're spending a lot of time. We're going to the golf tournament in Midale. The town of Midale will be hosting us in July. But really, it's about preparing our advocacy for the fall, with the federal budget being now a fall exercise rather than a spring one. Now we need to get ready for our submissions to the federal government for infrastructure dollars, which, the funds are dried up. So it's getting the advocacy ready for the fall. It's getting us ready for the summer school in August, although the team is has that well in hand, but certainly it's getting 6 months down the road. What does that look like? We got to spend some time in Ottawa, probably in August for a little bit, and then back again in the fall with FCM, and then bring those stories from our members to the federal level. We've gotten quite a bit of feedback from Minister of State Belanger that the federal government wants to build a relationship with municipalities. Well, we want to be ready in the forefront of that.
For yourself, President, your role is always going. You're 24 hours, plus you have your role as City of Yorkton Councillor. What do you do over the next few months to ensure that the work that started on this roadshow and even the last 6 months doesn't just end because it's summer months?
Well, and it's so interesting because we talked a little bit about that this morning at our Regional Roadshow too, because it's an opportunity to do continual advocacy, because we know we're out in our community doing events and things, and so are the MLAs and the MPs. So as we're flipping those burgers or pancakes or whatever it is, or opening parks, we're talking with our other orders of government, and we need to take that opportunity on a networking social event to let them know what we need and why we need it and what their part should be. And I will definitely be doing that because I enjoy doing that. And I enjoy getting out. I'm hoping to visit a few more of our member communities over the summer. I did a little bit of that with my daughter last year, just driving on a Saturday morning and visiting communities. Nothing, no planned meetings, just going and visiting. And it's wonderful. And I know from the work I do in the tourism industry that people are looking to stay closer to home. Mm-hmm. Cost of fuel, cost of things, plus sometimes they don't want to travel into some of our neighboring countries. They want to stay close to home. And that's what I know many people in Saskatchewan want to do.
So final question for both of you, because really at the end of the day, this roadshow wouldn't have happened without the amazing support from people who have made it possible. What's your message to the countless people who have helped make this roadshow a success, but also the people who have hosted SUMA, starting with Randy?
Well, first of all, to our sponsors. I mean, we have, Sask Water has been an incredible sponsor at our convention, at these roadshows. So they've definitely been a huge asset to us and to the communities that they work in. And then I have to say thank you to Jean-Marc and the team in the office. They put all this together. They make it work. They get our communications out. So they're making it work. And to our members, because the roadshow is nothing without, I mean, it's Jean-Marc and I and some, going out and talking to ourselves. We can do that, from our homes or from the office. It's our members who want to bring to us some of their thoughts, some of their concerns, directions, and we're always open to that. And I can't say enough about our host communities that always go out of their way to share what they have so that we can all learn together. So it's a pleasure being on these roadshows, talking with our members. So anyone or everyone that makes it possible, a huge thank you.
JM, final word to you.
I think Randy, you summed it up really well. The fact that the sponsors are there, my teammates back home that are online listening to the sessions during the day, they'll give us some feedback as we go along with Sean and I, and the communities that are hosting us. I mean, as an example, the caterer yesterday was just phenomenal. And she was so thrilled to be able to supply the food, and it was really delicious. And that's been our experience throughout these 8 meetings. So it's just the ability to get out in the backyards of our members. And I think that's the end of the day. That's what it is.
One of the things I have to mention too, we're back in Assiniboia this year, and we were there last year when the work that they were doing to their downtown area, their streets, their services, everything was ripped up. And talking to them about getting through that process with their businessmen. And then this year being back and walking their streets and hearing about the celebrations they had afterwards to thank their residents and their businesses, and walking the streets and hearing all about that. It was phenomenal. And that's to me, that just brings joy to my heart anytime we can do that.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining us for the season finale of season 10. Looking forward to season 11 later on this year, once we're back from the summer breaks. But hopefully this summer, as we say on the show, hopefully we can get one foot on Main Street and go visit some of our amazing communities across Saskatchewan. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, that's our stop for the season. Now, if you've been riding along with us for this entire season, thank you so much for sticking around. Whether you are listening on the commute, doing work, walking the dog, or just letting the conversation run in the background. It means a lot that you've spent this season with us. MuniCast is brought to you by SUMA, the voice of Saskatchewan's urban municipalities. So wherever you're headed next, tonight, tomorrow, or sometime down the road, remember that curiosity is a pretty good compass to guide you. Thank you so much for tuning in for another edition of MuniCast, and we will be back for Season 11 of MuniCast later this fall. So until then, we will catch you down on Main Street this summer.
I grew up in a small town. I'm small town at heart. I moved to the city, but